Please listen carefully.
All right, well, here we are. Welcome back to the Focus Target Podcast for a bonus episode. Like, I don't know why we wouldn't do the intro. I don't know. We didn't discuss it. We need to.
I don't know why either.
We need to put
music.
We need to do a.
I said this, and I thought you were like understandable or something. Like, what do you?
We need to work on our. We need to work on our bonus podcast.
What? Yeah,
whatever.
It's a lot of effort to put in for a 15-minute clip, basically. I don't know.
Yeah, so here we listen. We got to be dedicated to quality here on this podcast. That's very important. But yeah, time's ticking. We got about 15 minutes before some of us have to roll out of here. So we thought we'd bring it to you here quickly today with a quick recap of the Stanley Cup, because it's not every year that one of our teams wins a major professional sports championship. I mean, we don't live in New England or some of these other places.
Los Angeles.
I mean, Los Angeles has so many damn teams.
Tampa Bay.
A lot of teams have been doing a lot of winning. Hasn't been happening to my teams for a long time. So yeah,
Gotcha.
if you weren't aware, the Colorado Avalanche, they did it. They topped the mountain. They won the cup for the first time in about 20 years. Which was pretty awesome. Really well deserved, I think, for the players of that team who have been struggling for a number of years. They've kind of been a favorite that kind of underproduced. And, I think a lot of fans around Denver were fearful because there've been a lot of teams over the years in all sports, but especially in hockey, that have been very good and perennial contenders and constantly getting to the second, third round, even maybe the finals, but not being able to pull the trigger. I think the San Jose Sharks are the first one that comes to mind for me, a team that like every year we're top of the league in the regular season and every year seemed to fall short. And you wondered, was this the kind of team that was just going to do that? And so to finally get it done was pretty cool. I was able to go to Game 5 personally, which was a lot of fun, and the excitement of possibly being able to witness a Stanley Cup championship, which is something that is on my bucket list, something I hope I could do before I die. But it didn't work out. Wasn't in the cards. The Avs couldn't pull it off in Game 5, though they had the chance, and of course had to win it on the road in Tampa Bay. For all the Tampa Bay fans, who if you watched the post game, like they're doing like the Cup Award and everything, and like all these Tampa Bay fans are still there, and they're all just like
with their R's crossed, standing up still.
My wife is like watching with me, and she's like, "Why did they stay to watch this?" And I'm like, "You wouldn't stay? Like, I mean, you still get to see a Stanley Cup awarded. Like, it's kind of a once in a lifetime thing, even if it's not your team. Like, you never know when you might get that chance again." But yeah, it was just kind of funny, right? Like, you're there, like sulking, like just cooping us.
It's about it's got to be hard to. I know we talked about this a little bit, to win in the opponent's home.
Yeah.
Like it's just got to be tough on the players, and because in the moment they're super excited, they're jazzed, and then you step and take a look around, and it's just a different environment than you really probably dream about.
Yeah, you have to think that like it is different, right? That like there's got to be a difference even to the players.
Yeah, for sure.
Like being in an arena where you've got like some fans, but by and large, it's an era of a disappointment feeling.
Yeah.
From above you versus being in your own place where everybody's just going absolutely crazy. Like,
yeah. And they interviewed McKinnon like almost immediately afterward, and on the loudspeaker and everything. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about this. Like is it not class isn't the right word, but like I don't know, because now all of a sudden, not only did your team lose, now they're going to bring in McKinnon and interview him about what he feels about winning and everything. Now for the audience, but for the audience at home, right? Like, of course, they all want to hear it, and it's much larger audience than was just in the arena. But it was just awkward hearing that. But kudos to them. And then you gotta be extremely happy for what you did, right? For as difficult as it is, and at the same time, do you hold back a little bit to show some reserve so that you're not shoving it in their face? I don't know, man. It's a neat little balancing trick.
Well, and I wonder if they did, like the circles they were making on the ice with the cup, like they felt really short to me. I wonder if they were home, would they have been doing like full rink circles, each one of them, and like to the cheering crowd, like it did feel like it was maybe a little reserved.
I know when Chicago won theirs at home, I distinctly remember that when like Patrick Kane took it all the way
Yeah.
around, with all the fans. So I bet you're right. I didn't really think of it in the moment, but they were a little quick to pass
Ah.
that cup off, probably quicker than they would have been at home. So
Yeah, because now you're literally with the cup skating around the rink, like, yeah.
yeah.
Look what
So
I got.
so
was
I was glad they won, but it
Yeah.
was cool to get like $1,000 back for my refund for tickets to Game 7. So that was a
Is that for
nice
2
little.
tickets? I mean to
That was
ask, or
for
is that for
one.
1?
That was for just me.
wow.
So yeah, that was nice. Nice to get that back. But boy, it sure would have been cool to be able to see that. But sorry, I will let you get this shot. The last point I want to make about this is that like I'm not happy. Like I wanted to see it, but like there is like if you're looking at the bright side, it gives me something to still like. They won the
Mm.
cup this year, right? They won the championship. So he's like, well, what's next year? Like, okay, you're going for 2, but like, what makes that special? Like for me, there is still something I haven't seen, right? Like if they make it back next year or a couple years down the road, which I think a lot of people hope they will, myself included. Like maybe there's still a chance. There's still something that I haven't done, which is see a Stanley Cup award to the Avalanche. So we'll see. Shy, what were you gonna say?
I mean, it was just I was gonna try to lighten the mood a little bit. This is my first time watching the post game of a Stanley Cup final. I don't know if I even watched the award, the presentation last year when last year's the year that I started watching hockey. I didn't really care about Tampa Bay beating the Canadians, but like I was rooting for the Avs this time, and so I watched. I don't like. Do hockey players often like kiss each other on the mouth? Like, is that a regular thing? Like, do they think about that when they're all kissing the trophy? Like that they're basically just like kissing each other? Like, it's very odd. I don't know. I don't really get it, but
I think it's for whatever reason it's kind of just been kind of become tradition, and I don't think they really think about. I imagine they don't think about it that way.
yeah.
They're all COVID
Hopefully,
tested before the
Hopefully
game,
they're
so
hopefully they're cleaning it between
well,
years. That doesn't
they're
have
not
the
like
germs from
yeah,
Tampa Bay
dude,
last year.
they
Like
clean it.
like
Like if you've ever watched any of those like following the cup, like the cup specials that they
uh,
have every now and again, like those dudes polish that cup
oh yeah.
like every 10 seconds. Like
all right,
White
those two
glove.
guys who carry it
Yeah.
out. Like yeah,
all right,
that thing is pristine. That's probably the cleanest cup in the world until it's handed out.
all right.
And we're gonna talk about how they dented the cup.
I
You gotta
heard
see.
I heard about it, but I didn't know what that really meant. So someone dropped it, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Well, what happened is they were coming in for the picture, and Abe Kubel was like the one carrying it, and he was trying to get into the picture, and he kind of fell and like tripped, and it lands on the ice, and you can literally see the bottom dent, like
No.
yeah. Watch the
The
video. Like,
bottom ring?
yes, the bottom ring.
Oh, so
Like
that's on there
flat
for
out.
like 60 years now.
I probably straightened
Well,
it out,
It's gonna
right?
be the
I'm sure they'll hammer it out, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, you should watch the video because it's funny as hell. And everybody, like all the players are like they're all sitting there looking right at him, and they're all like, "Oh, all
no
right, whatever,
way.
it's cool." Like it was
So
ridiculous.
I learned because so apparently there's 13 teams on a ring, and you put the entire roster when you win.
Yeah,
So my
up to
wife was asking me like,
actually up to 52 names of people involved with the organization can go on.
and she was like, "Well, what happens to the rest of the rings? Like 50 years from now, is it going to be like 10 feet tall?" And I looked into it, and so apparently they retire the top ring,
Oh,
and when it gets too full, they retire the top ring, and then a new blank ring is brought in underneath. And they started doing that. I can't remember when, but that's how they're going
I
to
did not know that.
compensate for it to be like a million rings tall.
That's
They'll
crazy.
retire to put it into the Hall of Fame or something like that. I can't remember what
I
they call
thought
it.
just every 13, 14 years it got a little bit bigger, got a little heavier. That's what I
Yeah.
always told people because that's how I thought it
Yeah.
worked.
So right now it's the maximum height they plan on it. When the bottom ring gets full, they're gonna quote unquote retire the top ring and then just continue to do that. So
That's
allegedly, my sources could have been all wrong, but that's what I read. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
very
The
interesting.
other question I have for you is, well, I have 2 questions. Well, actually, just one question because I know you're super excited about the Avs. But do you remember? Well, so it is 2 questions. Last time they won, you were a teenager, right? Like, do you remember that? Like,
Oh, I remember their first cup in '96. So like, most people probably don't know this. I'm not to toot my own horn, but I might be one of the oldest Avs fans. Most people in Colorado, I should say, most people in Colorado got into the Avs in 95, 96 when they moved to Denver. Understandably, they came from Quebec, the Quebec Nordiques. I have to imagine very few people here in Colorado were that interested in the Quebec Nordiques. I, however, was for a very strange reason. The summer before, my cousin came to stay with us over the summer because he was working. He was working with my stepdad, and he brought NHL '93 with him, and we used to play it all the time. Well, my cousin was a big Red Wings fan because he's from Michigan, and so the Red Wings, one of the best teams in the league, were like overall like 98 or something on that game. And so when we played against each other, like I had to pick a team that was like really good. Otherwise, like I'm at a huge competitive disadvantage. One of the other best teams in the league that year, Quebec Nordique. I didn't have a horse in the race at that time because we didn't even have a hockey team. So I was like, sure. So I got to know all these players that then the next year
No
come to
way.
Colorado. And it's like when I first saw the Avs, my stepdad calls me in to say, hey, you should watch this. We've got a hockey team now. And I sat down. I'm like, I recognize all these players, like Sakic, Forsberg. Like I know these guys. Like I thought this was Quebec. He's like, yeah, that's where they moved from. I was like,
That's cool.
so
Yeah.
like I was pretty invested early on. So I was super into it even from that first season. I remember watching the '96 Cup win when Uwe Krupp scored from the blue line. I was watching that live. I definitely watched the 2001 series. Like I was super invested. Like I've been an Avs fan since since '96 when they came here, and like I've just been super into hockey. So I remember it all pretty well.
Last
They all
last
blurred
question.
together, but
Last question, then I'm done skis for this bonus podcast. So apparently Makar got the MVP. What are your
yes,
thoughts on that?
Conn
Do you agree
Smythe.
with that?
You know, I thought it was going to be. I think it's certainly worthy. Certainly worthy. I thought it was going to go to McKinnon if I had to guess.
Mm.
My bet was McKinnon, but Makar would have been my second guess. You know, I thought that Makar definitely was pretty dominant, but I wonder if he wasn't nursing something because kind of
Mm.
during the second half of that playoff run, he wasn't quite the same, especially in the finals. He didn't quite have that same dynamic presence that he did early on. So he kind of was front loaded, but I mean, it's a playoff. It's not just the finals; it's the whole playoffs, and he had a fantastic finals. So um, I think it may be the first of many for him because that guy's just awesome. He's one of like
Yeah.
I think only three or four players. I think it's 4 times it's happened, but 3 different players who've won the Norris Trophy and the Conn Smythe in the same year. And it's Nick Lidstrom and Bobby Orr, like 2 of the greatest defensemen to ever play. So, and yeah, this is his 3rd year in the league. So pretty exciting to have a guy like that locked up for the next 7 or 8 years already.
You know, I wonder with Makar, like at the beginning of that first game against Tampa, the first game at home, Emily Kaplan like was talking to him on the ice, like that was like the player interview before that first game started, and she asked him, she's like, a lot of, I've been hearing from Tampa Bay that one of their main objectives of the series is to lock you down. How does that make you feel? And he looked at her and he's like, hey, if they choose one person, they choose me to lock down. We have like a ton of great players, like more power to them. Like we're just going to shine through. And like, I wonder if one of the reasons why he didn't shine, like Tampa Bay has a really strong defensive presence. Like that's one thing they're known for. Like if they really did target him, and he is an outstanding player, he still performed well. Like that might be one reason why he didn't shine as, bright in that series.
Totally could have been.
They may have just focused him. So I think it's got to be special for Joe Sakic. Because he got a ring as a player in that 796 one, right? So then
in 96 and 2001, yeah.
He was still there for the 2001. All right, so he has 2 rings as an Avs player.
He was the Conn Smythe in 2001.
2001, and then he gets a ring as the GM now. Like that's got to be pretty special for him. So.
All right. I know I said those are my last 2 questions, but my final comment is this, and it's just a cleanup corner real quick. And it says, so from bshockey.com, sounds like a very reputable site, says the first time the Stanley Cup was fully engraved was in 1999. At that time, the NHL decided to replace the bottom ring rather than simply add on to it. The last time this happened was in 2018. So the winners from the 1954 to 1965 seasons had their band removed to make room for the Capitals team when it won.
Gotcha. Let me clean up myself. Sakic won it in 96. Not 2001. 2001 was Patrick Wall. So Avs have 3 Conn Smythe winners, obviously, because they have 3 cups. I don't know if I don't know if like how like I don't know.
Yeah,
if
has a losing team ever got the MVP?
Yeah, like and like I feel like it, especially if it's supposed to be like a playoff. I bet it's happened. Maybe that's something I'll look up too, because like it's supposed to be a playoff award, and like if you just are head and shoulders better than everybody, but you lose in like a game 7 in a really contested series, like I don't know that you'd be penalized for that, but Interesting. All right, I think we got to go. Just wanted to kind of give our thoughts, talk about while it was fresh. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate a shout out to my wife Sarah for letting me have a little time, kind of unscheduled to do this real fast, even though it kind of threw a wrench into our evening routine.
Thank you, Sarah.
And yeah, thanks to Sheeny as well for letting Van hop on, and thanks to Shy for being here. Shy controls his own destiny.
All the focus target spouses. Many thanks go out to them.
Anything else, fellas, before we wrap it up?
Congrats. That's it, buddy.
Yeah,
Good stuff,
that's
man.
awesome.
We'll
Yeah.
see you next year, and hopefully we'll talk about one of our other teams.
You gonna get a Stanley Cup? Or do they have Stanley Cup playoff jerseys? Like, do they even make like stuff like that? Or are you gonna get some
I don't
Stanley Cup
know.
playoff swag for the Avs
Right.
at all? Or
I probably will. My wife, my wonderful wife, for our anniversary gift, gave me an Avalanche flag that I've been flying outside my house for the last couple months, which has been awesome and perfectly timed. But I was wondering, like, maybe I'll try to get like a Stanley Cup champions flag and like get a
Mhm.
second flag post, have them both flying.
Ooh.
But yeah, I don't know. I have to think about that. What's nice, I'll finally get to shave this damn playoff beard. This thing's just gotten out of control. So
What's wrong? Nothing wrong with
Well, it
beards.
ready
worked.
to go. Yeah, it worked out this year. All right,
All
fellas.
right.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. If you have any comments about the Focus Targets podcast or the Stanley Cup Finals or anything, hit us up at focustargetpodcast@gmail.com, and we'll see you next week. Sneak preview. We're gonna be talking about Kenobi.
Yeah.
May the force be with you.
All right.
Bye.